Um, I had the honor and the privilege a couple of weeks ago on Homegrown Farm that is owned by DJ Sbu, I think Desiree Thomas, and I'm not sure which other partners, to interview the founder of Drip, Lekau Sehoana. Sehoana. I think Lekau Sehoana. Incredibly inspiring story of a gent originally from Limpopo, but grew up in Ivory Park, which is between Itembisa Township and Midrand in Johannesburg. Of course, I had a lot of questions to ask him because that's what I actually enjoy doing. I enjoy learning from people, and I have a style of asking questions which I found unsettles a lot of people, sadly. But I'm just very direct. I ask questions direct. People that have met me before, if you meet me for the first time, like I ask you like direct questions. People are like, Aibo, am I in an interview? Am I being interrogated? But that's just generally how I ask questions, and I apologize for that. In particular with Drip and also with Ibatu, which is another huge success story owned by Theo Baloy, who is from Alex. I think someone said he's originally from Mkhukhu, I'm not sure. I'm very passionate about business. I've been passionate for a really long time about black business in particular and startup success stories because there's so much to learn there. I'm a student of life and I'm also an educator of life. And I know that when I extract some of this information and this education, I can then pass it on to other people. I've been incredibly jealous of the success that Lekau and Theo have enjoyed with their sneaker brands, Idrip and Ibatu, respectively. And getting an opportunity to question Lekau, I had to, of course, tell him that I've been a huge hater of their success. Obviously, hater not in a negative sense, like waiting for them to crash. No, but hater in the sense that I wish that was me. I wish I was involved in that journey. And in that, look, I've had a lot of questions. A lot of people that I've spoken to, a lot of people online have had a lot of questions. How can a business that is 2-3 years old become so uber successful? So I wanted to ask those questions, but at the same time, not take away from the platform, because the platform was us engaging with Lekau, celebrating his success, and obviously making sure that a lot of people that were there got to bask in the success and be inspired, to go and buy obviously a drip of Ipa to and add to the success story, and also for them in whatever stories they have to be inspired. One of the cool things that Lekau went into was the fact that he'd failed for 16 years in business, trying various things and failing, along with the fact that he'd failed the matric. Those stories are so important because people need to understand, and this is one of the things that we haven't learned, that to be successful in life, you must be comfortable with failure. You must be comfortable getting knocked down and know that I will be knocked down. The probabilities are high that I will fail, but let me try and minimize the risk of failure. And let me make sure that even after I fail, I can lift myself up, dust myself off, and keep going. So his story is a story of resilience in the face of adversity. Rural boy, comes from poverty, spoke about how he grew up in a shack. You can go and check out the interview on the virtual Mkhukhu on YouTube with myself and DJ Sbu. Incredibly inspiring. And obviously, your boy, Penuel the Black Pen, went and interrogated. I didn't get certain answers to certain questions, understandably so. One of the things I have learned in business is that you can't disclose everything. Especially if you read The Art of War by Sun Tzu. You understand that if you give your enemies all the ammunition that they need, they will lead to your uncoming to your destruction. So I understand that as much as I'm asking some of the questions, he cannot answer some of those questions for confidentiality. They're not a public listed company. And just because there are haters out there that are going to look to destroy them. He also can't really disclose who his suppliers are, as an example, because then all the other people are going to go there and then take his unique opportunity there and then try and replicate what he's done. The other cool thing is we spoke about being able to coexist in a space. The fact that Ibatu and Drip can coexist, just like the brothers in Germany who created Adidas and then Puma, who are two brothers that are coexisting. We can coexist because the market is big enough and we can inspire each other and we can even collaborate. I think that's pretty awesome. So please go check out the interview, be inspired and learn from it. If I can get a one-on-one with Lekau in future, I will definitely go harder. And one of the cool things about interviews, with me at least, because I think I'm a bit smart and I understand human psychology, Sometimes it's not the answer that the person gives you, but it's the way that they do not answer, which allows intelligent people to read between the lines. I appreciate a lot of the positive comments about me asking some of the tough questions. A lot of people DM'd me saying, thank you so much for the questions, we appreciate it. But they were also like, but this guy didn't answer some of the questions when you asked about margins and what, and the story's still not making sense. You know, and I laughed. I'm like, look, he obviously can't tell us everything. It's his business. He doesn't owe us anything. It's his success. We're just honored to have him tell his story and not be hidden somewhere. A lot of you guys don't know the Danish, I think it's the Danish or the Denise family behind Kingsley Beverages that does Kingsley Cool Drinks and that does Dragon. So you can't be inspired by them at all. A lot of you don't know Full Knight, who founded the Nike brand. You don't even know the brothers that founded Adidas and Puma. So for the fact that we've got Lekau and Theo, who are first generation startup, and they're literally telling their story to us, regardless of what's happening in the background, it's for us to be inspired. It's for us to be involved in what they're doing. And it's for us to take that lesson and see in our lives how we can go out there and also become a success of our lives, especially with the failures being unrelenting. I saw a negative comment on the virtual Mkhukhu episode. I don't like negative comments. I prefer focusing on the positive comments. And I prefer focusing on the comments with constructive criticism, because those ones help me to build. The positive comments obviously inspire me to keep doing what I do. But there was a negative comment because someone was saying, this Penuel guy is giving Vusi Tembewayo vibes. What businesses has he founded and has he started? He doesn't know what he's talking about, you know. And I didn't really want to reply. I didn't want to say anything about it. But it just reminded me that I've got so many people that are only getting to know me this year, that have never heard of me before, that have never followed me on social media, that don't know my life. And it is fundamentally important that I tell my story, you know. So I'm making this video, number one, to say, please go and watch the interview with Lekau, Sehoana, and the drip story. And then I made this video also because I wanted to just give you a list of some of the things that I've done. Not because I'm showing off, not because this is me qualifying that I'm knowledgeable in business. It's just me wanting to tell my story. I want you guys, when you speak about me, those of you who are fans of the work and the education that I give, I just want you to know some of my journey as well. I have failed many, many times in business as well, just like Lekau. And I've met a lot of really, really successful people who have failed, not just in business, who have failed in corporate, who have failed in relationships, who have failed in trying to build their families. You know, it's life. It's life. And if you can use your failure and use it as stepping stones, building blocks to your success, you'll become very, very successful. One of the things, my mentors that I love, Robert Kiyosaki, speaks about is the concept that the schooling system demonizes failure. And yet failure is the cornerstone of innovation and invention and creation. If you're not willing to fail, how are you ever going to achieve anything? If a child is scared of falling down after getting up to learn how to walk, how will that child ever learn how to walk? If a child is scared of falling off a bicycle while learning how to ride a bicycle, how will they ever learn how to ride the bicycle? If you're scared of making mistakes in driving a car for the first time, how will you ever learn how to drive a car? So there's something wrong with our education system which punishes failure. What's meant to happen is we're meant to isolate failure in the education system. You got 60%, well done. There's 40% that you didn't really get. Let's focus on making sure that you master this 40% before you move on to the next stage. Fundamentally important. So I'm going to go through a list of some of my various ventures on making an income over the years. I started some of these in high school, some of them during my varsity years when I was doing accounting and economics at Rhodes University, some of them when I was at the University of Johannesburg doing my honors in accounting. And even after I left, I carried on hustling. I carried on pushing. I carried on selling. Selling is a sport, for those of you that don't know, and you need to start your children as early as possible. As much as they're mastering how to play TV games, as much as they're mastering being on the sports field, as much as they're mastering maths and other academic subjects, as much as they're mastering speaking, maybe your kids get to read in front of the family or get to speak in front of the family, as much as your kids are gymming and exercising and building their bodies and they're reading books, teach your children how to sell as early as possible. Get them to take anything. Let them sell Alice bands. Let them sell soccer jerseys. Let them help you sell whatever you're doing. Let them come on and make videos promoting your business. Hi guys, my name is Penuel. I'm 12 years old and I'd like to promote my dad's accounting business. Please support my dad and he can do your book. Teach your children how to sell. It's a fundamental skill because all of us have to sell ourselves. And job interviews, when you're working with suppliers, when you're working with big corporate buyers in your own business, when you're traveling the world, when you're macking on your partner and trying to win that love, life is about selling. Fundamentally important. Anyways, I'm getting carried away. Going through the list very quickly. Things that I've done to make an income which add to my journey as a business person. I have sold boerewors rolls in Grahamstown and Newcastle. In Grahamstown, it was in Makhanda in the Eastern Cape. It was at the Arts Festival. And then in Newcastle, it was at a restaurant called Ekaya Lounge or Ekaya Res. Along with a very good friend of mine and a business associate, Uzamani Ngumalo. I've sold ice lollies at the Newcastle taxi rank. I remember Uzamani and my brother Penson told me that I was taking it too far. It was during my varsity years and I wanted to get over this thing of being embarrassed and abantu bazothini. I bought juice, I made ice lollies, I froze them and I went to the taxi rank in Newcastle with a bucket, going taxi to taxi selling ice lollies. I didn't need to. My family was okay. My mom was a school teacher or a deputy principal at the time. We didn't fundamentally need the money, but I needed to do that exercise for myself. I've run a hawker stall with my brother in Newcastle where we sold chips and sweets and cigarettes in the streets. Allen Street, close to what was Edgar's at the time. Some people thought we'd fallen on hard times. They were like, oh, shame, we had boy to Penuel. I've sold I Love Newcastle t-shirts. I've sold Newcastle Old Boys t-shirts. I've sold hashtag 100 million t-shirts and hoodies. I've sold t-shirts in bulk, plain t-shirts in bulk. I've sold tailored clothing with a partner of mine at the time. I've fixed cell phones and laptops. I was a middleman to some of these foreign guys in the Joburg CBD who fix these things. So I'd collect, give these guys it fixed, and then I'd make the margin in the middle. I've worked at catering events, helping people that are catering food to other people. I've driven meter taxis. I had my own meter taxis, some in Joburg and some in Newcastle, under a very good friend of mine, I've driven and loaded trucks. I had a removals business where I had small trucks. I'm a Hyundai H100 and Kia K2700 where I was moving furniture around Johannesburg. And I did long distance trips as well. Mpumalanga, KwaZulu, Eastern Cape, Limpopo. I think we did the Northwest as well. I've made and I've sold artworks, maybe over 40 artworks of my own. I still want to get back into art because it's a gift that I have that I like to share with the world. I've written and sold books, as you guys know. To date, I've probably sold over 5,000 copies in a hard copy and PDF. I've talked at events for money, and I still do that now, and it's something I'm also trying to master and become much better at. I've coached rugby at my old high school in Newcastle High. In 2009, I was one assistant coach for the first rugby team that I used to play for as well back in 2002, 2003. I've bred and sold cows and pigs at the family farm in Didier in the Val. So I've sold cows. We also had cows. I had cows in Newcastle, along with Umakhelwane Babu Urita Ngumalo and Babu Joe Bega. We had cows in Newcastle that we were selling. I had cows with I forget this guy's name, but there was a group of young gents from Wits, along with Oskane Gamer. We had cows in Cullinan on one of the guy's grandfather's farms that we were selling. And we had pigs, which were managed by a cousin of mine who's Piwe Yankees. I've babysat children for money. I've given out loans. The loans business is still something that I do to this day. I've done debt collection for other people at commission. I've traded forex and stocks, equities, shares for money. I've dabbled in sports betting with some good friends of mine who are still in that life. I've sold cooked food to varsity students with a very good brother of mine, I've tutored children, or kids rather, for money. I've counseled people for money. Oh, my space is running out. I need to finish this video quick. I've counseled people for money. I still do consultations now, even online. I've hosted business workshops for people. I've featured in TV and print commercials. Some of you may have seen some of my, especially Castlelight and KFC ads. I've cameoed in a few TV soapies, Your Generations, Your Bennelanders. There was another one I forgot on ETV, I think. I've set up stokvels that have made money for myself and for the people in the stokvel. I've invested in startups, friends that have started businesses. I've forged documents. Why did I put that there? Jesus Christ, it's moving along swiftly. I've been employed, of course. I've opened a fast food shop. I had Penuel's Fish and Chips in the Johannesburg CBD near Gandhi Square. I've applied for funding from 4 institutions and been rejected. I've engaged politicians from grassroots levels to presidents. I've knocked on doors and hustled to have sit-downs with some of the top CEOs, founders, and successful business people in South Africa. I've been rich. I've been heavily in debt. I've been heavily broke. I've heard lovers, I've heard family and close friends from bad decisions or bad consequences from actions I took. I've mentored over 100, maybe 200, 300 kids now. I've collected and donated over 3,000 items of clothing, over 200 blankets, and probably over 100,000 Rand in cash used for groceries or school fees for the needy, running the Mamsi Foundation, my charity foundation. I've sang and done gumboot dancing for money back with Mr. Silk in high school. I've busked for money overseas. Busking is when you sing in the pavements and get paid by people that are walking past. I've run over 20 marathons. I've traveled to over 15 countries. I've sold my mixtapes. I've got 2 mixtapes, rapping and singing, for 5 Rand each. I've owned a fancy car. I've taken my mom on trips to spas and restaurants. I've provided for my kids. I have 6 beautiful children. Through tough financial times and unfortunately inconsiderate baby mama drama, I've been depressed, suicidal, I've cried, I've laughed, I've disappeared. No matter what happens when I hit billionaire status, please don't talk shit about how lucky I've been, how I fluked it and only got it through political connections, or was in the right place at the right time, or due to my looks. I have earned all my stripes and have the t-shirt, the scars, and the court cases to prove it. I've failed so many times, been rejected so many times, been sworn at so many times. The journey is brutal, victory or not, it's been a fascinating ride. Penuel the Black Pen. Just in closing, guys, just as you can read small snippets on Twitter, on Facebook, etc., that's how you should read books. You don't have to read a book from beginning to end in one sitting. Read snippets, read 1 page. You don't have to read 1 book at a time, read multiple books at a time. And you don't even have to finish books. Use them for inspiration. Love you guys very much. Have a great day. Cheers.